All right, we are going to get started. Thank you all for joining us today for PR for Startups and Small Businesses with NaAsiaha Simon, founder of NaAsiaha Simon and Associates. With no further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Nai. I'm very excited for this session. She's going to be sharing a lot of tips and tricks with us, and we're very grateful that she is willing to step up and share them with our entrepreneur community through our Launchpad series. So, Nai, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hey, everyone. I can't see everyone's face. Let's see. I'm going to take over the screen here. And let's see. Let me move you over just here. So hold on one second. Let me just move this over here. All right, so let's jump in and get started. My name is NaAsiaha Simon. I am the CEO and founder of NaAsiaha Simon and Associates Public Relations and Planning Firm, which is here in Dayton, Ohio. At NSA, that is where creativity meets innovation. And our slogan is turning moments into movements. And I can't see everyone. I'll kind of stroll through to see if faces are being shown, but I always like to ask people how many of us have siblings, and you can raise your hand or give a thumbs up in the chat room. Okay, how many of you all have two siblings? Raise your hand, thumbs up. Okay, 3 siblings. Okay, 4. Okay, let's try 5. 6, 7. Okay, one has 3. Okay, how about 8? How many of you all have 8 siblings? Raise your hand. Okay. Okay, so I have 8 siblings. Yes, I have 8 siblings. And oh, Kendra, you have 2. Lucky you. So, okay, Ebony, 4. So for me, I have 8 siblings. And my favorite saying is family is not defined by our genes. It is built and maintained through love. So as you see in this picture, me and the friend center and those that's my tribe, that's my clan. We are a rainbow family. And so the beauty about me having such a big family is 8 of my siblings, 7 of the 8 are all adopted. And they range from different ethnicities. Some are Hispanic, Caucasian, African American, and Pima, which is a form of a Native American. And so for me, I had the honor of growing up in a big family and being able to relate to different backgrounds. And so for me, when people say, well, why did you choose public relations? And I always say PR for me started in the 6th grade. My sister Jessica and I rode the bus together, and however, she went through this interesting phase in life. She was light complected, she was dark complected. The girl was hairy though, y'all. I'm just gonna be honest, and people would make fun of her. They would call her Punjab, they would call her all these names. And so for me, being the big sister that I am, I had to protect my little sister. And to relate it to public relations, I had to protect my family's brand. I had to protect my family's reputation, because here you have this beautiful big rainbow family, and people were like, wait a minute, y'all are all siblings? Yes. So again, the oldest of 9 children, and 7 of the 8 are adopted. And so that's how I relate to public relations. At NSA, we are a public relations and planning firm, and our goal is to represent businesses and organizations using strategy and innovation to promote and protect each client's brand and reputation. Our vision is that we will be an internationally recognized public relations firm, and we will be dedicated to innovative and elite services, and we will provide our clients with a level of excellence that surpasses their level of expectation. At NSA, we have 5 company values that we stand on. Relationship is the first. We are committed to developing long-term relationships with our clients, building confidence and trust that our clients will come back to us again. We are built off of passion. We employ only the highly talented individuals and people who are passionate about the work that we deliver to our clients. the talent. We work with the superior of the superior, the best of the best, because we want the talent to show through the work that we deliver. As for services, we provide the highest level of service on every assignment. And my favorite, integrity. We insist on being honest and being fair, and we're dedicated to walking with each client to meet their expectation of the work that they do. At NSA, I boast about the diverse clientele that I've worked with, whether they were a past or present client. We are dedicated to a household of brands. And if you look closely, you'll see some of your favorite local Dayton nonprofits, beauty products, entertainment districts. And I'll touch base on some of the different industries that I've worked with. So the reason why we are all here, so what is PR and what is the problem? So with public relations, I always explain it to people in layman's terms. Public relations is building that medium between a consumer and a client. The consumer is your media and your press and your social media outlets and databases or platforms, and then your client. Who are you serving with your business? And the thing is, a lot of times people don't know, when do I hire a publicist? Do I need PR? And how much public relation plays a major role in the branding visibility that your company currently has. And so one of my clients was Benedict College, and we did a press tour in New York. And I want to show you a clip on her reasoning for highlighting why public relations is important.
You need most right now?
Money.
Money.
Yeah. And good PR. So I'm on the Breakfast Club, right? I mean, money and good PR. The reality is we have a very bad habit of saying it's just an HBCU. Bite your tongue. Just an HBCU? You mean the HBCUs that bore the black middle class? You mean the HBCUs that built this country? You mean the HBCUs that educated the vast majority of doctors, lawyers, engineers, and teachers of color in this country, that still produce the majority of black people with degrees in this country? So we must stop speaking of ourselves in diminutive terms. We are giants in the higher education ecosystem, and this country, quite frankly, is becoming browner, and you can't reach your higher.
So I wanted to show you that quick clip just to show you that with a lot of industries, public relations is needed because you need to share your story. And for Benedict College being a historically black college and university, they wanted to share their story. So public relations, some of the benefits with PR is PR helps you with your damage control. It helps you with your storytelling. It helps you with So the benefits are, I think I froze for a second, so I'll just rewind. So the benefits of public relations is it assists with damage control. It helps you with your storytelling. It also helps with problem solving and your overall brand visibility. So when you talk about PR and the need for it, whether it be with your consumer or with a client, I like to break it down in two forms. There's PR for solopreneurs and there's PR for small businesses. So what is a solopreneur? Solopreneur is one person running a business. And with public relations, that gives you the tools and capacity to build your credibility and to increase your brand visibility. So what does that look like? That means you're running your own campaign and you're building your brand for yourself. However, with public relations, that does not mean you have a publicist managing this for you. We assist you and guide you on how you can manage those services. So we help you on a short-term basis on how you can obtain some media training. We help you and advise you on the proper outlets and channels that you need to help you manage your reputation and the different phases that you have with your businesses. PR for small businesses. The publicist becomes your advisor. We help you monitor your brand. We consult you on ways that you can improve your brand's perception and increase the relevance of your industry. A good example would be if you were a small business and you were a restaurant and you were into hospitality. I would advise you to go and try to be in a beauty blog or advise you to post about beauty products. You would highlight the services that you offer. And when you're hiring a publicist, that means you're leveling up your business and you have that media training, and we're helping you craft that message. We're helping you make decisions so you won't encounter any bad PR for your business. And so one example that I like to show people is how do you manage damage control for your business? Because that's one thing that NSA specializes in is damage control. With NSA, not only do we do public relations, but we do planning, and we did 3 seasons on Basketball Wives. And I'm going to show you all a clip on, I think it's frozen. I'm going to show you all a clip on some good damage control. So as you could see, Miss Jackie Christie was panicking about her dress. And so with public relations, you can jump in and you can handle the damage control. And what did I do? I found her dress. So that was actually really a good experience. And so outside of damage control and branding, visibility, and storytelling, and overall controlling your narrative, the solution with PR, 3 things I like to say. Good PR is essential for effective branding. So if your branding isn't strong, public relations isn't going to help. So a solution to help you with PR is to make sure your branding is intact. What does your website look like? What does your logo look like? What is your social media presence? How are you communicating with your audience? Having public relations in place will help you leverage media opportunities. So when you have a PR plan, it can help you be prepared and stay prepared to speak with journalists and news stations. In addition to making that PR plan, it helps you define your image of what you want your company and how you want your company to be portrayed in the media. So you can have a local level of press, a regional level of press, and a national level of press. And so there's different levels to it, and NSA can help you assist that and further that. And then lastly, one thing about PR, the solution is your company will recover from mistakes and crisis faster if you have public relations in place. And so I always tell people your image is fragile, and it's better for your company to have a damage control and plan, because if not, then you won't. That's not a benefit. That would be a benefit if you have it, and that relates to public relation. An example I would use is Starbucks. Recently, we all saw in the news they received a lot of backfire for not allowing one of their employees to wear a Black Lives Matter t-shirt or mask. And so their damage control was to create merchandise to promote the movement and to support the cause. And so what does that look like for your business? Maybe you have customers complaining about shipping. Maybe you have customers complaining about the customer service. Maybe you had an error on your social media. What does that crisis management or damage control look like for you? And that relates to public relations, and we're here to always create a solution. Again, at NSA, our slogan is turning moments into movements. And so my call to action is, let's turn your moment into a movement. Let's help build your brand. Let's get you in the right media outlets and overall just build. And thank you all so much. And if you all have questions, I am here to answer any questions that you all may have.
Hey, Nye, can you talk about, part of PR is building those relationships and getting into the right media outlets. What are questions that entrepreneurs should be asking themselves to figure out like what those media outlets are for them?
Mm-hmm. That's a really good question. So questions entrepreneurs should always ask themselves is, what outlets do I want to see myself in, and what outlets will help me build? For an example, if you were to have a beauty product line, what outlets would give me the most brand visibility? And those are all beauty bloggers. It would make sense for you to aim for the Essence, the Blavities, the Rolling Outs, anything, the Sheen magazines, any magazine or newspaper that promotes hair or beauty. It would not make sense for you to go and be in a higher education outlet or an outlet that's talking about restaurants or a nonprofit outlet. It's always best to stay within your industry. And that goes back to vetting. You have to do the research to find what media outlets will be best for you. And then as far as building relationships, a lot of times these editors or journalists have their contact in their Instagram bios or on their LinkedIn's. And sometimes it's just an introduction. Hi, my name is NaAsiaha, and I will use my Clorox wipes as an example. So I'm going to give you guys a little pitching. Hi, I'm NaAsiaha, and I created this new disinfecting wipes. It kills 99.9% of viruses and bacteria. And I would love to talk to you about how my product can help homes be safer and cleaner, and how we can just make this community a safer place. When are you available to chat? And all they can say is, hey, although I'm a fan of Clorox wipes, I like the NSA wipes. They sound great. Let's connect. And you just continuously build that relationship. And you'll receive some no's. However, a yes will come. And you just continuously build the relationship. However, one of the things to consider is when you reach out to these media outlets, they will go and check out your social media. They will go and check out your website to make sure that the branding has some alignment and it's cohesive. And if your branding doesn't match the pitch or the story, then they're not going to run it.
We have some questions from attendees.
Okay.
Feel free to drop them in the chat, or if you want to unmute and chat directly with Nai, we can do that as well. One other one, Nai. Somebody dropped in the chat. If we are considering hiring a publicist, what question should we ask before selecting a publicist?
That's a really good question. So when hiring a publicist, I think the first thing is what I say with everything is do your research, check out their resume, check out their branding, because you got to practice what you preach, you know? And then two, you ask them what's their success rate. Have they worked with anyone in your industry before? What was their experience like? Like myself, I target 3 industries: HBCUs, small businesses, and nonprofits. However, I do get inquiries from politics. I get inquiries from hospitality all the time. And although I don't specialize in those areas, I can refer you to someone who specializes in that industry. And so it's always great to see if they're going to be honest, because some people just want the money. And passion and integrity are 2 of the things that I stand firmly on in my company's values. And so ask those questions. Who have you worked with in this industry? What was your experience? And then if you know some outlets, you can ask, have you ever worked with so-and-so outlet? What was your experience?
Another question in the chat: what kind of fees should we expect to pay in Dayton?
So that's actually a very interesting and hard question, because the fees vary per a publicist. Some publicists have high retainers, some have low retainers. It just depends on the package and the services, that they're offering to you. However, I would say when you inquire about public relations services, they can range from $1,000 to $5,000. However, different publicists provide different services. Some provide social content, some provide branding assistance with it, and some just strictly do the PR. However, at NSA, we do offer a range of services outside of the PR realm that go into the marketing and the branding side of the industry as well. But it goes back to the solopreneurs point that when you are considering public relations, sometimes your business isn't ready for PR. However, you're ready to get the assistance and the advice from a publicist that can say, hey, your website isn't 100% up to par. These are the recommendations that I think you should take in consideration to make you ready. Your product isn't shelf ready. This is what you should do to make sure that you can be competitive and be considered to be in a Target or Walmart or Bed Bath and Beyond, So there's different levels to PR. And I always say, stick with your budget. If your budget is $700, $1,000, and maybe $500, that looks different in different ways, because $500 could get you media training. It could get you advisement on your website or your branding that you need for the PR. So I always say just be honest with yourself on how much you want to put into it, but you have to invest in your brand.
So, Nye, what are you looking for to make that determination whether somebody is ready for your PR work? What needs to be in place on their website or in place with their product for them to be a good client for you?
I think for me, when it comes to having a good client, it's about the consistency and the communication and the passion for their brand. I can't be more passionate about your product or your merchandise or brand overall more than you are. It's like it's a partnership, so we have to both somehow be equal and give the same energy into it. And again, I can't project goals onto you. I need to know, where do you see yourself in 90 days? Where do you want to see your brand? And we aim for those goals. And I always tell people, it doesn't matter if you're a local company or you are a bi-coastal company. Every company needs PR. You just have to figure out when it is the best time for you to have the service.
You also talked a little bit about a PR plan. What all goes into that? Is it building out a bunch of if this, then that scenarios, or sort of what's that process a little bit?
So when considering having a PR plan, you have to consider what your communication. I always tell people have a plan A, B, and C. And the reason why I recommend having those plans is an example with COVID. A lot of businesses were not prepared for COVID to communicate that message to their employees on how they were going to work from home, how they were going to move forward in COVID, what the payment system was going to be like, what curbside service was going to be like. And then a lot of businesses did not have the plan set to communicate with their audience. We're closing, we're open from 9 to noon, or we're open from only 4 to 9 p.m. So having multiple communication plans set in place, and then damage control. What are your outlets that you communicate on? Do you have a newsletter to communicate to your audience or to whomever subscribes? This is what happened. This is what we're going to do. And then a goal list. If you are a local outlet, are you building a relationship with the Dayton Business Journal, the Dayton Daily News, WHIO, WDTN, Channel 2? What's that relationship look like for you? And are you ready to be on those platforms? Because once you take that step, then it comes with a lot of energy and people are going to inquire about your product or service.
Another question in the chat: what reputable or credible resources do you suggest in conducting research for PR tips? Articles, books, websites, social media pages, or groups that entrepreneurs can pick up or read or join to learn more?
So that's a really good question. The one website I would always go to is PRSA, because it's a nationally recognized organization. It's the Public Relations Society of America. Where else, they have all of the credible sources that you need. And you can go on that website and you can search PR plans, how to be a publicist, when to hire a publicist. And I think those are the best things. As far as article, anything within Forbes is always a really, really great resource. And then I always tell people, Google is our best friend. However, when you're on Google, you just have to look at the source and to make sure it's not from like Wikipedia or a blogger has done it. And then you can always do your research on publicists to see what they're posting. You can see who publicists are affiliated with. One thing at NSA, I say we associate with the best of the best. That's why it's NaAsiaha, Simon, and Associates. And we have the greatest associates because we associate ourselves with publicists everywhere, whether they're in California, Baltimore, New York, Charlotte. We have the greatest associates, and we refer a lot of them out to our associates because they specialize in the industries that we don't specialize in. One of my favorite pages on Instagram is the PR Girl Manifesto. They manifest all things PR, and they're just really hip and trendy, and they give a millennial PR approach because things change, and it's good to tap into the millennial approach to things in these times, I should say.
Other questions, either in the chat that you want to drop in, or if you want to unmute and ask or chat directly with Nye, as it relates to your business or your experience or questions.
Hi, I have a question.
Go ahead.
This is Tyler Lawrence. I am a freelance publicist and journalist, and I wanted to ask Nye, how do you keep consistent with your excuse my 1-year-old. How do you keep consistent with your content and with making sure that your clients are receiving optimum service for you, although you have multiple things to juggle?
Hi, Tyler. So how do I stay consistent with my clients and with the trends? I think that was the question you asked. I think the biggest thing for me is finding balance. A lot of people don't know, and it's actually something I'm not afraid to share with people. A lot of people don't know that I am still recovering from brain surgery from a little over 2 months ago. And so coming out of still dealing with recovery and having a firm and having 7 employees, the biggest thing for me is pacing myself and being extremely organized. Time management is literally my best friend. And so in the midst of having time management, you have to, one, set up time for yourself. And some of us have iPhones, and if you don't, I encourage you to get one. No shade to the Android people. However, I'm an advocate for the iPhone because it saves my life. With that, I believe in setting time for yourself. And again, we have 24 hours in a day. And I always say there's not enough time to do the work because the work goes on and on and on. However, if you say from 1 to 2:30, I'm going to focus on press releases. 2:30 to 3, I'm going to break. I'm going to come back in maybe 3:15. I'm going to work on pitching. I'm going to come back and I'm going to do some social media content posting. You have to pace yourself and just continuously just pace yourself and set those goals and be realistic. And I would say going through surgery and being in this present moment, I've learned it is okay to ask for help. And that's what I do. And that's one reason why I love my team and I love my fellow publicists and associates because they help. As far as being consistent and staying up to trends, research. We all are at home. Some of us are working from home. However, just do a little bit of research. Stay on trends. We all have social media. Use your hashtags. See what hashtags are trending and relate those hashtags to your business. If you're in nonprofits, do hashtag nonprofit and see what other nonprofits are doing. If you're in hospitality, hashtag restaurants, hashtag eat, hashtag I'm hungry, and see what people are posting to stay within trends, because that's how you tap into the now and your business will stay in the now, because the now is PR and PR is everything.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Nye, what are there things people should keep in mind about how media outlets work, or how things work? So you're sending it off and you're pitching to get into an outlet. What, if any, control do you have about what they do with the information once you send it out into the world? Are there just things that people should keep in mind before reaching out to 100 different places for a story?
Absolutely, and that's a great question, because with public relations, in the relation to press and media, you have to do your research. You can't just go onto and I'll use the Dayton Business Journal for an example because they're here locally in Dayton. I wouldn't recommend to just go on the Dayton Business Journal and find an editor, we'll say John Doe, and just email him a story. You have to find people, who specialize in your industry. So if you're a beauty industry, you would go research someone who specializes in covering beauty, hair, cosmetics, and you have to target your industry. And that's why public relations is important, because as a publicist, we vet out those outlets, and we already have probably had those relationships with those outlets. I forgot the second half of your question.
Yeah, no, I was kind of wondering, and I was speaking, so I'm a former journalist, and so community journalism, local newspapers. So not necessarily the kind of outlets or business focused outlets that some of our entrepreneurs would be working with. But I know, we did not let people pre-screen stories. Like, you didn't get to read it first. You did the interview. You didn't get to sign off on the piece that was going to be published. You did not get to change your quotes afterward. Things like that. And it could be totally different in some of the trade publications, but I wondered if there was anything sort of across the board people should be aware of. Like, once you put something out there, you may not have final say on what gets printed. Are there things along those lines to keep in mind?
And that's actually something really good. I had a client who had reached out to a news outlet without even telling me about it. And she gave a statement, and this statement was really bad. And so, jumping into damage control, the news outlet was not willing to recant her statement. However, what we did was I sent a press release and a news statement, but I sent it to an outlet that was over them. So their story was taken down eventually. And so it's so important when you're pitting out these stories, you have to be mindful of what to say. And that's why it's important to have a publicist, because we help you control your narrative, and we advise you on what to say and how to say it. Because one experience, a lot of encounters I had before surgery was people need assistance writing how they felt about the protest happening. And a lot of the times people didn't know what to say. They were angry, they were upset, but there's a way to communicate that without using cuss words, without pointing the fingers, without going on a rant. So it's like, how do you communicate that message effectively, one, in the right way? Because again, once it's out there, and although you can delete, we all screenshot, and it's the internet. Nothing gets deleted. That's my mindset. So controlling the narrative is important, very important.
Couple more questions dropped into the chat. How do you deal with pushback from clients? And is the first one. And the second question, should we look to outsource website building and branding, or are sites like Wix.com, Vistaprint, and the like sufficient?
So those are really good questions. So how do you deal with pushbacks from clients? That is an everyday task, because the client thinks they know what's best for them. And again, integrity and honesty are part of my company's values. And I'm going to be honest with you. That is not an outlet that you want. You should not post that content. Your logo is not the best logo. And those are just conversations that you have to be a publicist. And as a business owner, you can't take it personal. It's business. And again, communication, you just have to communicate on ways to improve. And if there's pushback, then it's probably not a good partnership. Because my biggest thing is, you have to be honest in this industry, because it could take you 10 years to build your brand, and it can take you 30 seconds to destroy it. And in the moment of destroying, some things you can't PR, some things you cannot come back from. And if you want to push back, then NSA is just not for you. And we can refer you to some people, but NSA is not going to be the home for you. And outsourcing website and building branding logos. I do think if graphic design and branding and website is not your specialty, that is okay, because we all have lanes that we should stay in. However, when you are outsourcing, I don't think there's anything wrong using a template. However, I do think you should seek someone who's an expert in that industry. And yes, some people do charge outlandish prices for those services, but you will meet someone who will meet you where you're at. to help you have, an effective and vibrant brand. But outsourcing to the Wix and the Vistaprints, I think those are completely fine. However, I would always look for someone who specializes in those industries just to make sure, because I know, for example, when I was in college and I was doing small businesses with, my friends, I went on Vistaprint and did business cards, and they were great. However, after a while, it's like, oh, these cards aren't the best quality. Let me go find someone who can help me find really great quality cards. And there's nothing wrong with that, just going a step up from it. But those are great starter platforms for people who don't have the means to pay for those services. But then you can reach out to Launch Dayton, the Entrepreneur Center, to see what people they can refer you to or resources they have out there to help small business owners or entrepreneurs in general.
Any other questions for Nye? Going once, going twice. So another question in the chat: how do you go about finding potential clients? Is it all a part of networking and pitching?
So how do I go about finding my potential clients? So I like to believe I am the networking queen. I love people, and this stems from my siblings. This stems from me being in a sorority. This stems from me just loving community. And so I'm that person. If we're out and it's networking, I'm going to come up to you and say, hi, I'm NaAsiaha, but everyone calls me Nye, and I have a PR firm. And I'm going to talk to you, and I'm going to give you my business card. And people know good people. And then again, I work for the best of the best and work with the best of the best. And I always like to say the work will speak for itself. And if you haven't heard about NSA, you will hear about NSA because I'm a researcher, and I will send you an email or you will get my newsletter. I believe, again, it's an investment, and just how I encourage you to invest into your brand, I invest into my brand. And I research who are the companies here in Dayton that need the assistance. And when you go out and you network, you meet people who know people, and people talk. So word of mouth. Oh, and thank you all for tuning in. This was really, really fun. I had mentioned earlier that, so I have consultations. I have PR consultations, and for Launch Dayton, from 2 to the end of the day, I'm going to be running a special for a 45-minute consultation for $100, and I'm going to donate proceeds to Launch Dayton to help other entrepreneurs invest into their businesses. So on my website, you will see Launch Dayton PR session, and if you want assistance with furthering your PR, or you need help with you have branding questions in relation to public relations, I'm here to help. And I really hope that if I can't turn your moment into a movement, that you have the courage to turn your moment into a movement, and we all just continue to win.
Thank you so much, Nye, for doing Launchpad today, sharing your knowledge, and for this follow-up offer for attendees. It's greatly appreciated by the entrepreneur community. I will do a shameless plug really quick as far as Launch Dayton programming goes. So we have our biggest event is an annual event called Startup Week. It is a week-long free conference on all things entrepreneurship. This year, it is slated for September 21st through the 25th, and it will be fully virtual. So we have sessions, inspirational sessions, social media marketing sessions. There's a pitch event that is part of it. And we also have programming that is pulled together day by day, designed for specific industries. So we have a day that has 6 sessions specifically for folks in the food and beverage industry. Specific marketing tips for those folks, how to fund a startup in that particular industry. So the industries that we'll have this year, we've got a food and beverage, we have a health, beauty, wellness product track, defense, if you're working with interested in working with the military or the Department of Defense, a med tech day for folks in that health space and medical devices space. And materials and manufacturing. So if you're producing your own products and manufacturing products, we've got some programming specifically designed for those industries to help you dig a little bit deeper into what might actually work for your company. So if you guys have companies in some of those industries, I encourage you to check it out. Even if there's not, we do have some general sessions, social media 101, that are designed to apply across different industries. So we're looking to have registration open next week. Stay tuned to all of our launch date and platforms to be the first to know when that goes live, and check out the schedule. Otherwise, I think we're wrapping up for today. If there's no final questions for Nai, if everyone wants to unmute and we'll give NaAsiaha a quick round of applause and thank you for joining us today. So thank you.
Thank you.
And then I have been recording, so I'm going to stop our recording now. If you registered through Eventbrite, we'll be posting the video from today. I'll send you a follow-up link. So if you want to review anything or forward it to a friend who couldn't make it, anything like that, that'll be.
We wanted an appointment today.
Go ahead, Marsha.
You want us to just call you to schedule that for later today?
No, actually making it live on my website. So you can go on my website and it'll let you book it.
Just do it.
Yep.
I'm on your site now. Thank you, Nai.
No problem. I'm going to make it live really soon.
All right. I'm going to stop our recording. Thank you all for joining us today.